All right, here we go again. Today, of course, is Memorial Day. I hope everybody's having a good Memorial Day and a lot of drinking and eating. And I'm at work. um, First off, I want to apologize for the last couple of weeks. Like I had said, we've been trying to record and we've been having a lot of trouble out of this, so I had to have my computer repaired. So it's supposed to be right now. We'll find out. But I just wanted to say that once again, Chie has about 8 weeks. She's preparing for the Chicago Pro out in Tinley Park, July 22nd. And we're inviting everybody to come out and cheer on. So that's going real good. Today is Monday, of course. Like I said, it's Memorial Day. And I'm at work, like always. Um, I wanted to first and foremost the subject and title of this podcast today is the greatest era in fitness. Okay, I wanted to say condolences out to David DeYoung, who just passed away from cancer. A young man. The thing is, why I call this the greatest era in fitness is when people hear conversation about Quad's Gym. Okay, Davey was the co-owner, the second owner of Quad's Gym, and I knew him for a very long time, well over 30 years. And it's really devastating that he would pass. And as I say, that ends an era because Tommy passed away. Tom Milanovich, he passed away about 10 years ago. Dave DeYoung, the other owner, just recently passed away, maybe a few days. And Quads was it was a legendary, magical place. If you didn't get to experience it, I'm quite sure a lot of people have heard about it, and most people will never understand what that place meant to so many people. To start out, like I say, it was Tommy and Davey. They started out at 17, 18 years old, and they originally was working out in their basement, and I think it was at Tommy's house or one of their houses, and their mother, they were doing it for them and their friends, and their mother told them, "Nah, y'all tearing up my place. Y'all gotta find someplace else to work out." So they bought a little storefront, but over by the rock quarry, which is in Thornton. And what they used to say is, every time they would open the door, all the dust would fly in. So if you can imagine a couple of 18-year-olds starting their own business at a time when working out just wasn't heard of. It was very frowned upon. Never heard. It was, people looked down upon it. It didn't have a good following. They made Quads into, well, let me finish. They said they were sitting at their place one time, and a guy walked in and said, "Hey, how much are you guys membership?" And until that time, they had never been charged a membership. They were just friends, just would come up there and work out. And then they looked at each other and said, "Holy shit, we can make money doing this," So that's how they started. But this had been 3 or 4 years. They were not charging people. It was just friends coming to work out. And so they first opened up Quad South, which is over in Cayman City. And that's where I spent most of my time training from 95 on. And I would say I went before then. I actually went a couple of years before then. I went in. I had been hearing about it. All these great guys. I had just started lifting. I was work at Bob's Gym, maybe 170 pounds, and I thought I was the shit. You couldn't tell me nothing. So I went downstairs, changed clothes, went upstairs. I had tank top, shorts. Went upstairs, and I think every big guy in the world must have been training that day. And it made me So I looked and I saw it, and I'm like, damn, this is what guys that work out seriously really look like. I turned around that day, and it took me probably another 3 years before I went back up there. I'm like, I'm not ready for all this. So I wound up joining. I wound up staying for a very long time. And Tommy, who ran Quad South, he was the guy that he wanted to try to sell me quads at the time, and I really didn't want to open up a gym. I really didn't want to buy a gym. I wanted a personal training studio, and nobody had them. They were just starting to come into appeal. He came to me and he said, "You know what? What I'll do for you." Now this is the guy that was trying to sell me his gym. He said, "What I will do for you is that I will look over your business plan and tell you what I think about it. What's the best route to go." And I said, "Oh man, thanks. That's real good." Well, the first thing you got to do is tell me what the hell a business plan is. So he taught me, how to do a business plan and what it consists of. And I must have brought probably 10 business plans to him over a couple of years. And I used to actually train my clientele out of there. I was an independent trainer. And he was shooting them all down. Nope, that ain't gonna work, that ain't gonna work, that ain't gonna work. The best thing that he did for me was to tell me why he felt it wouldn't work. Either the place was too big, too small, too far. And every time he would tell me something about why he felt that wasn't a good one for me, I would make a note of it, and I would try to make the adjustment. So we got down there, talked about moving downtown. He said, "No, don't do that. All your clients are out here, and it takes a lot of money to be downtown and blah blah blah. This place too big. This place too small. You'll outgrow it in 2-3 years." So we got to the point. I made the adjustment. Everything was great. I found the right place. Everything was ready to go. It was in South Island. Everything was ready to go. And I took that one to him. He said, "Man, this is good. This is really good." He said, "But what are you going to do about equipment?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to lease my equipment." And he said, "You don't want to do that." He said, "Leased equipment, if you run into financial trouble, is the first thing they're going to take." He said, "It's like being a barber and they took your clippers. You're not a barber anymore." He said, "The best thing to do is to find someone selling the equipment and buy it and pay cash for it," which I didn't have no cash. And at the time, the internet wasn't prevalent like it is now, where you can just look on and find somebody selling it. I had to hear about it. So I had heard this guy was in Gary, was selling his equipment. He was shutting down, which I heard it from a guy that I used to work for, Charles Durr. And we ran over there. We bought most of the equipment. And he said, no matter what, he said, when you drive and you see all these empty spaces, they always looking for a place, somebody to rent. You could take the equipment home and be successful. And he said, but if you have no equipment, you're out of business. So I took that to heart, and that's what I did. And it worked out well. That's the quad. That's the ratio 1-to-1 that you know of today. It lasted. At the time I was going to quads, they had already been in business 25 years. So I didn't want to talk to somebody that had only managed to stay in business 2 years. I want longevity. I never wanted to have to work for anybody else. And so the valuable lessons that he taught me over the years is ratio to this day. Davey, they actually opened up a second location up north. And Dave was just one hell of a nice guy. He really was. The thing I remember about Dave, because he was at South for about 3 years until they opened up the next one. So we got to know each other really well. The thing I remember most about Davey is that all the supplements that he put in, water and everything, like he always had all the labels facing front. He was so paranoid about that. You had to have the labels all facing the same way, and they all had to be facing the front. And Tommy told me one time, he's anal like that. Don't worry about him. So it became just such a shock. I had stopped down there a few years ago because she had a photo shoot and an interview, and they used to have these wall of fames where you had to be somebody to get your picture put on the wall. So I think she had just took second at the Arnold or something, and they got a picture, put it on the wall, which is legendary. That's everybody strive to get on that wall. That was actually at North. So we went there and we did the interview, and we did the photo shoot and all those things up there. And me and David just sat down for about an hour and just talked about how it used to be in the old days. It was just, to put it short, the love and the passion that I have for a gym, and that's probably the reason I'm better than a lot of other people. It's a thing that you have to love. I learned to love the gym by being at quads. Everybody used to look all gym rats and blah blah. It wasn't that. It was you only could get respect by working hard. That was it. You couldn't come in there. They didn't give a shit if you was a woman, if you was a fat, short, skinny, black, white, blue, green, purple. It didn't matter. All they cared about was, are you working hard? And that was the criteria. So we never, while in the gym, saw racism or sexism or anything like that. They had no air conditioning. It was hot as hell in there. But we just looked forward to it. That was probably, I was there for quite a while, maybe 10 years I worked out at Quads. And those were the best 10 years of my life. And I guess I'm carrying the torch for the love of the gym business. And it was a lot of people, they were talking on Facebook about how Quads made a difference in their life just being there. I mean, everybody. And I look at it and I say, man, it is amazing that they could, for so many years, just by them loving the gym, touch so many lives, have so many people develop a more positive life because they were at Quad's gym. And they got to know Davey and they got to know Tommy. And these guys were the greatest guys you ever want to see in your life. Will give you anything. And that's why I say, that's why I label this podcast as the end of the greatest era in fitness that ever was. Because it truly was. There will never be another gym like Quad's Gym. Never. It'll never happen again. The guys that ran it were so passionate about what they did and so locked in and helping people, and it was just an experience that you would not even recognize it. You wouldn't even know what it is by me just talking about it. It was by far the greatest time of my life and a lot of other people's lives. It wasn't just me. They touched everybody. And that's why I call it, it's the end of a dynasty. They wound up selling South. North is probably going to get sold too. But it's just tragic. I knew Davey very well. And it's just so tragic that it's the end of an era. We'll never see another thing like that. They were voted the top 3 gym in the world by Muscle and Fitness magazine. I mean, these guys, 2 young guys that have one thing in common. They have been friends since they were kids. They loved working out. To the day they died, they were working out. You would go in the gym, they would be working out. And one of the things that Tom told me, he said, never buy anything or put anything in your gym that you wouldn't work out on yourself don't get shit. And to this day, like when people come in come in ratio, they see the multitude of equipment because we have so much. And I'm like, no, we're not your typical personal training studio where you're going to get one treadmill, a cone, and a battle rope. We have a lot of great quality equipment, and I learned all that from Tom. So once again, my condolences go out to Dave the Young and his family. And just, man, it's just a really, really tragic. All right. So until next week, hopefully the suckers were right. I'll get y'all next week. And this is your man, Sir-Earl. Check it out. See you.